Hello there. I am David A. Specht, the original old dog. If there is anything I have learned in my 30 plus years of life and leadership, I have learned that mindset is everything. Join me and my guests as we explore the positives and negatives of that thing between our ears. This is Keep This in Mind. Hello and welcome, and I am super excited to introduce my guest today, Cicely Simpson. Gosh, it's been months ago now at a mastermind group where she spoke. We have developed a friendship since then. I'm going to pimp her book because you need to buy this Amazon bestseller, Pull Up Your C.H.A.I.R. My friend Cicely Simpson, I will read to you those sound like Russian, but in my formerly nicotine-stained hands, who Cicely is, so you know why you should be listening to her today. Leveraging 25 years of leadership experience in business, public policy, and political and legal affairs, author Cicely Simpson possesses a wealth of knowledge to guide lobbying and coaching clients to pull up their chair and have their seat at the table of influence. Founder and CEO of Summit Public Affairs, Cicely is an in-demand public speaker on a wide range of topics, including chair leadership, career advancement, political trends, and political risk management for businesses. Cicely received a Juris Doctor from Pepperdine University School of Law and a bachelor's degree in political science from Lipscomb University. And it says for more information about Cicely, which we will cover at the end of the interview, go to CicelySimpson.com. So without further ado, I would like to introduce to you Cicely Simpson. Hey, Cicely, how are you today?
Hey, I'm great. How are you?
Well, the fact that the technology is working thus far has got me super pumped.
Listen, that's half the battle, my friend. You got the technology working, we're good to go.
You know, in the day and age of Zoom everywhere, right? You know, I don't know if you had a Zoom learning curve, but I did. And especially then when you started hosting Zooms and you started wanting to share screen. And it was like every time you did something, there was this like huge technology chasm that you had to cross to make it all happen. So the fact that we have actually gotten both of our faces on this screen at the same time is no small feat.
I love it. Well, listen, Zoom crashed my computer back in 2020 because I had one of those little small, 12-inch MacBooks that I could literally put under my arm, and it ground to a halt. And I was like, oh, video conferencing in Zoom pretty much killed my Mac.
Wow.
So yes, technology is great when it works, and when it doesn't, kind of a pain, but here we go. We're here together, crazy. So it's working for us.
Yes, and so I want to dive in with you because I consider you a difference maker, a person who moves the needle in the lives of folks that are trying to advance their career, and that's why I framed our conversation today as "Don't Hate Your Career in 2023." So, as someone who has been on the Hill in DC, and you've dealt with so many types of people from so many different kinds of backgrounds. I mean, let's face it, if we mentioned some of the people that you worked for and worked with, they would be like, oh, holy cow, So we know that and I remember you talking about you've worked through 4 different presidential administrations on the Hill. Yep. So you've been in environments all the way from, Pollyanna to the world's ending, and it probably changes on an hourly basis.
Today it does.
So for somebody who's entering a new year, or, and I don't know when this will drop as a podcast, but certainly the people that are watching today, they're thinking about their 2023, and they may think their life sucks. They may think their job sucks. They may, we talk about the great resignation that started in 2020 as a result of COVID. I would like for you to just kind of talk about some of the things that you've come across as maybe the top reasons why people are dissatisfied in their careers, and maybe some tips as to what they can do to mitigate those feelings.
Happy to. And look, I think you hit the nail on the head in your question, part of which is we tend to wait for these big moments to make change. I mean, think of the pandemic, right? We all came out of that and we're like, we don't like our jobs anymore. And we kind of rediscovered that working from home and family time, the great resignation was kind of born out of this idea that people kind of reevaluated their lives and they don't want to do this stuff anymore. They kind of have different priorities, different values. And while that's good, it's also bad in that we wait for those big monumental moments to make those changes. Like you said, when in fact you can do that every single day. And I know that's part of your story is your health journey. It's part of, career journey is don't wait for the annual review. Don't wait for the new year. Don't wait for these big monumental moments. Start now. Start today. Because to answer your question, the people, I coach people from all different walks of life across the country, now across the world. And what I'm hearing is, I know what I want to achieve. I don't know how to achieve it. Give me the roadmap. What are the steps I need to be able to accomplish my goals? But yeah, there are people who are frustrated. We're kind of back to semi normal now, I guess you could say, and they're frustrated. The pandemic has helped a lot of people realize I don't want to do what I've been doing. What's next for me? What do I pivot to? How do I discover that? I don't even know where to start with that journey, with that discovery. But then there are people who are like, I feel like now's a great time for me. How do I leverage it to my advantage? How do I put myself out there? What's my personal brand? How do I tell my story? So it's all manifestations of kind of the same topic, which quite frankly comes back to, your what, you may know your why. What we do is we give you the how. Because I can't tell you what you want to accomplish. I most of the time we have to struggle together with the why when I'm coaching folks, but the how is the secret sauce that gets you from A to B very quickly. It's how you close the gap from where you are now to where you want to be. And that's the conversation and journey that we go on with a lot of people.
I would add to that just a follow up,
Please.
and that is the word entrepreneur has become sexy, right? I mean, everybody and their brother's an entrepreneur, but that's not the answer for everyone. In fact, but yet we have painted a picture that if you're working for someone else, somehow you're selling yourself short.
Mm-hmm.
How do you answer that to somebody who maybe you recognize doesn't have the chops to be an entrepreneur? How do you encourage them that you say there's absolutely nothing wrong with being valuable to somebody else? How do you help them navigate that?
Yeah, I tell people and I coach people, be a person of impact where you are. That doesn't mean you have to be an entrepreneur. Your goal, though, should be impact, not influence. So where can you have that? You can have that in your current role, your next role, whether that's in a job, whether that's as an entrepreneur. But the entrepreneur thing is also kind of, is that really what you want to do? Is it what you want to do, or is it what everybody's telling you want to do because you keep hearing about it? And look, I'm very honest about my journey. Yeah, I've worked with 4 presidents. I've been on the Hill. I've done all this stuff, but I got fired from my job in 2018. All of us are replaceable. None of us are immune from that. And I started my business out of my question of what am I going to do next? And where can I have the greatest impact? Had I not gotten fired, I would have stayed in that job forever because we were rocking and rolling, having great success and doing some amazing things in that role, my team and I. So there are those moments where you kind of have to pivot, but I tell people the real question for you is if you can have impact where you are, do it. But if you feel like there's something else, if you feel like you're not satisfied, follow that gut instinct. And what I often tell people, who were like me is if you're fine where you are, then the question is lean into where you are and have greater impact there. But if you feel like you need to go do something else, what is that something else? And the one size fits all model just doesn't work. And you know that. It doesn't work for people. Just because somebody else is doing it doesn't mean you should do it. And you kind of got to do some soul searching before you answer that question of starting a business. Listen, it's the best decision I ever made, but it's not for the faint of heart. It's a journey. I started my business and didn't realize, you ready for this? I didn't realize I was supposed to have clients when I started. So I launched a business. I launched a business in the fall of 2018 because I was tired of my dad saying, are you going back to work? What are you doing? You've been off for a couple of months. Like, get your butt in gear. And then I launched my firm and I was like, I don't have any clients. I think I did this backwards. I need to go find people who are not going to, there's no playbook for this stuff. And so, it's not for the faint of heart. You've got to have a plan is what I coach entrepreneurs on. You got to have a plan. If you want to go down this road, you've got to have a pretty solid plan to do so. But David, I love that question. It's a great question.
Another thing that I see that people that have careers are living in, and that is a great deal of fear.
Yes.
The pandemic, and we hate bringing up the pandemic. Everybody, we're so pandemic weary, it's ridiculous. But there is a real fear because so many businesses, market shifts took place and people lost employment. They lost a business. As you well know, my one of my core industries has taken a huge hit. I tell people all the time, I feel like I'm owning the last blockbuster with Netflix out there as a print media owner. And there's this real concern about that I can't stay where I'm at, even if I do feel like I'm making a great impact. What would you tell that person that maybe doesn't have dissatisfaction, but a real fear that where they're at may not always be there?
Well, you got to get to the root of that fear first of all. I mean, there's something there. You got to peel back the layers to that, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then once you kind of peel back the layers, they have a choice. Once you discover kind of the root cause of what's driving that fear, and there's a lot that goes into that, but you got to kind of make a choice. And I always say, fear is face everything and run, or face everything and rise. And in the midst of that fear, when you identify the root cause of that fear, and if you're in kind of the chaos, like you said, nobody wants to talk about the pandemic, but it did kind of throw our world and our lives into chaos. There's opportunity in chaos.
Mm-hmm.
Too often we see fear and we go into shelter mode. We hunker down, don't do anything, don't rock the boat, just get through it. That's not always the best posture to take, especially if there's opportunity for you, but you're scared to take it. That's a totally different conversation than the root of the fear. It's why are you not taking advantage of the opportunity in front of you, even if chaos exists? Right now is a great example. Everybody is convinced we're in a recession. We're not. Textbook definition of a recession is we're not. But God help us, we're going to talk ourselves into one because everybody is saying we're in it. So now you have all this fear and anxiety about economic times. And look, your industry, newspapers, is a totally different story because your analogy of the Netflix is spot on. That's evolution of kind of where that industry is going. But when you look at kind of the folks, that we talk to every day, people who are watching your podcast, listen to your podcast, everybody's bought into the notion that they're going to lose their job, they're going to get laid off, and that there's bad economic times. And you're like, first of all, we're not bad economic times. But if you do have a fear of being laid off or losing your job, then let's work on that plan now. Let's not wait for it to happen. So fear can be paralysis analysis, and we got to get out of that and actually turn fear into action. That's my advice, and that's what I help my folks work through, my clients work through when we get that moment of fear or that moment of imposter syndrome. It's like time out. We got to tackle this because you can't get past it until you identify what it is and acknowledge it.
And I would say that the person is the X factor, right? You can have any structure, any plan, any how, but the person actually taking the action in there is really the difference maker. What will move the needle in their lives. So what are some of the things that, one of the things that I believe, and I bring it out all the time, I believe that if you get traction in one area of life, it will spill over to wanting to take on other areas. For me, it's health, lose the weight, get healthy. All of a sudden you want to get fit, or all of a sudden you want to get into personal development, or all of a sudden you want to, improve your relationships. What have you seen with your clients that when they begin to get traction in their career trajectory, that it spills over into other areas of their life? Have you seen that particular thing play out?
Absolutely. And that statement, that belief is spot on. I had a client who came to me in January this year, literally just a few months ago, and had just lost their job. That person had just lost their job. And I knew them through that role, but we were not close. And they came to me and they were probably at their lowest point, very similar to where I was when I had lost my job, because your confidence is shaking. You think you've done something wrong. I mean, it's a jarring experience to lose your job. But that person was probably at the lowest point. And they told me they were at the lowest point they've ever been at. 7 months later, by July, after we kind of started tackling the lack of confidence, how do we get past it? Let's get past that fear. Let's get past that moment that you did something wrong. And we kind of started peeling back some of those layers and doing the work. 7 months later, by July, this person not only had a new job making a higher salary than what they had when they got fired earlier in the year, they also had now started a second business, and they had a third organization reach out to them about doing some consulting for them. So literally, this person called me and said, I don't know what happened over the past 7 months. I'm like, I do. You did the work. You did the work to overcome the jarring experience you had. And one thing I'm very big on is helping people understand their value. Your job is not your value. Your value is your personal brand and your personal story, and that has nothing to do with your job. But if you're from a certain generation, we were conditioned, you go to work and your job is what you do, and that's all you do. And one thing I start with all my clients is we got to separate who you are from your job, because if you can't do that, you can't move past whatever experience you've had. So yeah, in 7 months, 3 roles. And it's phenomenal to see the transformation, but the transformation was roll up your sleeves and do the work. Now look, I've had some clients who've signed on with me and they wanted me to give them the answer. They didn't want to do the work. They didn't have kind of the belief that you're talking about, that once you find abundance in one area, it's going to spill over into the other. And they just kept getting the call week after week. Well, just tell me what it is, Cicely. Just tell me what it is. And I'm like, if you're not willing to do the work, this is not a great fit, because I can't do that for you. I can't. So it goes both ways. But for the people who are willing to do the work, 7 months transformation, going from no job to now 3 different opportunities. And the person is thriving. Their family says they've never been happier. It's amazing to see. But it goes back to that belief you were just talking about.
So let's kind of shift the conversation just a little bit. As a coach, you get to speak into people's lives, one-to-one, or as a speaker, one to a room full. But you're speaking to thousands of lives with the structure that's outlined in this book. Can you kind of tell me, since its launch, what some of the things that maybe the person, it's still time for Christmas. You can order this on Amazon and get it in time for Christmas.
Please do.
As people are looking to improve themselves, because let's face it, I tell people all the time, the parking lot at the gym is packed on January 2nd. If somebody was saying, hey, I'm thinking about, really trying to straighten out my life and my career, and I'm saying, hey, get this book. What would they expect when they open the pages of it? What's the structure that you take them down? We know what the C.H.A.I.R concept. Well, they should know what the C.H.A.I.R concept is, but if they don't, let's go ahead and just give me that. The Reader's Digest condensed version, because we want them to buy the book to get the meat.
Yeah, absolutely. And look, the C.H.A.I.R is based on a quote by the first African American Congresswoman, Shirley Chisholm. If they don't give you a seat at the table, bring a folding chair. And she was the first African American congresswoman in the 70s. She's also the first woman who ran for president, but nobody really kind of acknowledges that. She didn't wait to be invited to the party. She kind of did her own thing. And so the Reader's Digest of the book is very similar to what I've done over 20 years in Washington. If you wait to be invited, you're going to miss a lot of opportunities in your career and personally in your life as well. You've got to decide to pull up your chair to that table. And when you do that, not only, I always say, champion yourself, finding your voice, get you to the table. Impact ensures you stay there. And so that book, people tell me, it's not the read it and put it on the shelf. It's the guide. You want to take notes. You want to highlight. It's literally your roadmap to get from where you are now to where you want to be. And you're spot on about kind of the reception we've gotten. It's been phenomenal, to the point now where we're moving from one-on-one coaching to launching an online career resource hub where we can serve thousands or even millions of individuals in their careers, from students to CEOs and entrepreneurs, people who are all coming to us looking for that roadmap. And one person can't do that. So building now a comprehensive online coaching resource center that can serve everybody, can give you that roadmap. Yeah, you're going to get the roadmap in the book. Come join us in the community, and we're going to go even deeper on that. But that book that's what opened up for me, the coaching program, the podcast, speaking engagements. It really was the partnership with Forbes in publishing the book has been phenomenal.
That is amazing. And I want to be real cognizant of your time and people's time. So I'd like for you to just kind of give us how can we reach you? What's the best ways to connect with you, to join with you in this mission of changing the trajectory of careers? I can firmly see this being something that would be required training for organizations, if they feel like they've got a dysfunction going on. Let's show people how to find that satisfaction and have that impact, because I agree. I think impact trumps it trumps salary, it trumps benefits. I mean, they need that, and they want, and it's certainly a factor. But I've seen people that would take a lower salary for a higher impact, and so right. kind of give us the best ways to reach you.
Yeah, absolutely. And look, you just hit a point I'll just kind of key on, and then I'll tell you how to reach me. The one thing people don't you can't Google your career. You can't Google. There's just some things you can't Google in terms of where do I go and how do I do this. You actually need people who've been there. So this idea of reaching back is exactly what we're trying to do. What you're trying to do with your health coaching, you're reaching back to help others because you've been on that journey. So I post content about it. I go live every Monday morning at 9:30 a.m. Eastern. So folks can find me on Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter. But also to your point earlier, just go to my website, cicelysimpson.com, and you can sign up there to reach me. And that's pretty much, I'm everywhere. You can find me everywhere. All the socials, my website. So I encourage folks to reach out to me. It's funny, after I do these videos, I get a lot of social media messages, people reaching out for one-on-one conversations. So I always encourage that regardless of which social platform you're using.
That is awesome. Cicely, thank you so much for being on Keep This in Mind today. The first interview episode, we've got it in the books. And I don't think anything crashed. I haven't heard anybody say, I thought you were going live. So I'm assuming everything went well. Thank you again so much for being a part of this. I value our friendship. I value you speaking into my life and into the lives of others. And you know what? I like to say this. This used to be my tagline on an old podcast, and I think it's applicable here, and that is, knowledge is not power. Applied knowledge is power. Thanks again.
That's right. You can have it and never do anything with it. I love it. Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you. That is going to do it for this episode of Keep This in Mind. For more, visit davidaspecht.com. Like, follow, and subscribe. Thank you for listening, and remember, applied knowledge is power. God bless.